all the manufacturing here in Italy and in India and everywhere. Glad to hear these words from you. Let me move to Gareth Ward, and it really does break my heart to say we're moving outside of the EU, asking your opinion and asking you to tell us that this is for my personal love towards the island where you speak from. But please tell us what the situation is like in the UK, another country which was really hit quite hard by the crisis, together with Italy and some others. So what's the situation like? What was it like before, and what is it like now?
Well, before, we had just had a lot of the discussions, and we had formally left the EU at the end of January. We had a stable government for the first time with a workable majority. So many people were confident that things would improve, that we would go forwards, and things were optimistic, let's say, in terms of investment levels and that sort of thing. They could see that there was something stable was going to come out after 2 years of disruption.
Yeah.
And then on the 24th of March, the day after the Prime Minister announced the country was going into lockdown, the phones started ringing at every printer in the country with cancelled orders. It is estimated that that day, 70% of orders disappeared.
Wow.
Printers across the country were deciding to make staff redundant. Fortunately, that did not happen, because a couple of days later, the government introduced a furlough scheme. And now 90% of printing companies have at least some staff on furlough. So companies that were producing for tourism, for the events industry, for entertainment, their work has completely vanished. As we heard this morning, some of the packaging companies, particularly in food and pharmaceutical and healthcare, they're doing very well. Printers working for the health service are doing very well. Online printers, particularly those that are printing greetings cards, the UK is the largest sender of greetings cards in the world, and we still love to send a greetings card. We're sending a lot of lockdown cards, and they have to be bought online and they have to be printed overnight. So those guys are doing very well. And then later on, the guys who was producing signage, floor signage, to tell people to remain 2 meters apart, because that was the distance advocated by the government, they started to do very well. Now, last night, the Prime Minister announced that a lot of the restrictions were easing, that we can go to pubs, that we can go to restaurants, and we can go to certain outdoor style events, although not every sport, not every event. Many of the indoor facilities will still be closed. But this is starting to put some energy back into the printing industry. That said, at the end of the day, I think we will probably see a shrinkage in the printing industry of up to 15 or 20% in terms of companies going out of business, or companies that are closing down their offset presses and instead concentrating on using digital presses. Runs were already coming down and becoming shorter, and turnaround times faster before COVID hit. That trend will only accelerate because of COVID. And once COVID is out of the way, we have the extra burden of negotiating trade deals around the world, not least with the EU, which hasn't happened yet, perhaps with the US, which hasn't happened yet. I think the only trade deal that we have that is close to being fulfilled is with Australia. So we have some big issues towards the end of the year that we need to sort out that could help hinder the progress that we might be making. So this has been bad news for the printing industry, no question.
Thanks a lot for being that honest, Gareth. Thank you very much. That was Gareth Ward.